Today we're going to talk about this very passionate topic of how platforms can actually create a difference for the funding of opera and ballet performing arts in general. And as we have seen, the pandemic has really magnified the potential that these kind of digital tools can have as a complementary way, never to, of course, replace the real live experience, but to offer us the opportunity to discover or experiment with new ways of reaching new audiences, creating content for the screen, and also deliver a new way of artistic expression. So to maybe give you a little overview of what Fedora does. So we are a nonprofit organization based in Paris, and our commitment is to support innovation and creativity in the performing arts. And we do that by supporting new work that is still in progress, that is about to reach the stage. So it's like venture philanthropy that we raise in order to support these artists and institutions with coming up with new bold ideas that they then share and co-produce with partners across Europe and beyond. And the Fedora platform is also supported by Creative Europe, the co-funding program of the European Union. And this platform that we have established has created over the last years an ecosystem where we address on the one side, obviously the artists and cultural organizations who are the ones who are creating and innovating, but we're also nurturing relations with the private sector to generate private support towards these projects. And at the same time, there's of course the dialogue with Creative Europe and public funders who are backing and helping us to scale our initiative. And then of course, very importantly, the general audience who then gets to enjoy the pieces that reach the stage are a very important element in this ecosystem. And together we work towards transnational mobility, visibility of this artist's work, audience development, and developing new funding models. So over the past 6 years, we are very happy to gather already 95 opera and ballet and festival companies in 25 countries across Europe, but also with some extended relations outside of Europe, like in the US, Australia, Taiwan, and Israel. And these organizations are committed to renewing the repertoire and coming up with new ideas that they then put forward in our prizes competition. So to come back to today's core reflection, we're talking about platforms and how they can serve culture and the performing arts in order to boost visibility and funding for these art forms. So I'd like to just take you through 3 areas that we are focusing our work around. It's the showcasing of work that is still in progress. It's about offering a platform for capacity building, and also how to harness the digital shift to reach new audiences. So let's start with the prizes. So these prizes, as I mentioned, are venture philanthropy. They are sponsored by private sponsors, generally for opera, Van Cleef & Arpels, for ballet, and Carney for digital, as well as a private foundation for education. And these prizes are given to projects that are about to reach the stage. And in this way, it's a certain measured risk taking in order to allow artists to then go to the next step to realize their work. So it is not like a recognition for something that has already had its success, but we are taking our bets on what will be the next great success in the future. And luckily, we have an excellent jury of expert partners for these 4 prizes that are chaired by very distinguished and renowned experts in the field. Nicholas Spain from Opera Europa for the Opera and Ballet Prize, and for the Digital Prize we have Peter Menura from the IMZ Academy, and for the Education Prize Bernard Foucault, who is former director of Aix-en-Provence Festival in France and of La Monnaie in Brussels. In order to just give you a brief impression of what we have supported through the prizes over the past years and the vision of these prizes, I wanted to share this brief video with you. So that was a brief introduction, and this year we just actually announced the winner of this year's edition for our 4 prize categories, and the winners are in Belgium, in the UK, in Finland. It's very international, and some very remarkable work that has been done also by Lord Theatre, or also Hoffe Schesta's company, at Birmingham Opera Company, and Finnish National Opera and Ballet. And we're going to hear also about this project, as you announced, in a bit, Anastina, who will share more insights about this. So we're really thrilled that you will get firsthand insights about this very innovative project. Coming to what we are actually doing as a platform, we are really trying to give visibility to projects that are still not finalized yet. So it's also a bit challenging how to do the storytelling around something that is not completed yet. But that's exactly what we're trying to specialize in, and what we're helping organizations to do is to how do you build a community around your projects when it's still not yet on the stage. So it's about how to engage audiences at most earliest point in time to learn about your work and your vision, and to embark on that journey with you by, for instance, then in the second step, as you can see here, casting their votes in favor of your projects, enable the projects, which will enable the projects to reach the next stage in the competition, to actually raise funds on our platform alongside the jury nominees. And so here's an example, for instance, of from Opéra National de Lyon, which was shortlisted, for instance, and then they ran a very successful voting campaign, and then got the most votes in that category, which then allowed them to access the next stage in the competition. When accompanying these projects and helping them to boost their visibility and funding, we established 5 ways of doing this, and I wanted to just detail one after this. We have developed an online transnational giving Europe online system together with Transnational Giving Europe and Common Goal, which is the platform that allows you to receive donations from European citizens and to allow them to receive a tax receipt that is valid in their country of residence for their donation. And this is a huge facilitator of the free flow of donations across borders within Europe. We also set up, together with one of our nominees this year, a matching funds program, thanks to the very generous support of the Kiri Te Kanawa Foundation, that backed and doubled each donation that was made to that project. So that's a great mechanism also in generating more funds, because the donor's contribution is doubled and can go beyond the initial support of the donor. We also offered crowdfunding capacity building workshops, where we were actually encouraging peer learning and sharing best practices about how to crowdfund, because this is also something that is not yet as established in many countries, based also on the cultural attitudes towards crowdfunding or philanthropy. And another model that worked very well was the ambassadorship program, where we actually scouted for very dedicated philanthropists who believed in certain projects and wanted to become an ambassador of those, to spread the word about it and generate and use their networks to bring more donations towards the project. So it's all about, as we heard earlier, about the human aspect and building a community around these projects that go beyond just the artistic team, but also involving communities from across Europe and beyond. And last but not least, we also place very much importance on giving the artists a voice and giving them the possibility to express what motivated them or inspired them to create these works. And we also realized a video series around this. I just wanted to take a moment, since we're here with an audience of incredibly remarkable institutions that are also raising funds, and this could be of interest to you. So this online transnational giving platform that I mentioned is available to anyone that is a nonprofit organization in Europe and accredited by this network. And basically the way it works is once you've implemented it on your website, a donor who comes to your website and wishes to support an organization, that donor can make the donation on your website, and it's a seamless payment solution. And behind the scenes, the money is obviously wired to the local foundation that is part of the transnational giving network in the country of residence of that donor. And in a second step, that money is forwarded then to the beneficiary in a second step. And all of this is seamless and digitalized. And at the end, the donor receives a payment confirmation, a tax receipt, and a thank you note from you. But all the administrative work behind the scenes is taken care of by this system. So that is a great advantage and can help you also boost your efficiency when raising funds and reaching out to donors abroad. And we're really happy that in this first pilot version, already 13 countries are part of this solution in Europe. And we're looking forward to broadening this as well, and to have also Poland on board in the near future. Coming to the impact of all of this, I wanted to just highlight two aspects. So the emphasis of our work is to really also draw in new audiences. And because the new work is portraying the society of today and dealing with topics that are relevant to today's world, we have seen that the interest has really touched also a younger audience, relatively young in comparison to other maybe cultural sectors, but around 60% of the users who come to our platform are under 45 years old. And 40% of the drive comes from social media, which is an incredible source of gaining interest, and to also capturing the attention of potential future donors who in the first step maybe cast a vote, and then come back to actually make this donation. And over the last 6 years, we were able to invest 1.5 million euros in 18 opera and ballet creations that have then since circulated through different opera companies and ballet companies because of this co-production element. Coming to the second point, the capacity building, there are three main things that I wanted to highlight. There's this need, especially in these times of crisis, of huge solidarity, coming together, sharing experiences and best practices to help each other out in building strategies while we navigate this crisis, and also how we will establish the sector after this. So together with Opera Europa, we organize a fundraising forum on an annual basis, and this obviously happened all online this year. And it was very helpful because it brought us all closer to each other and we helped each other out. And then on the pro bono management side, we work together with an organization that offers pro bono coaching sessions for managers in the cultural field who can then build their skills and get professional coaching assistance. And together with the European Investment Bank Institute, we were also able to provide impact reporting training in order to help organizations build their skills in how to do impact reporting for investors and donors. And last but not least, what was extremely interesting to observe over the last months in lockdown is the quick reactivity of the sector, ballet, opera, and festival companies in shifting to digital media in order to remain in contact with audiences and engage with donors. And this was done through three ways. So there was a lot of streaming activity that happened and is still going on. There was a lot of content that was created also for the entire family and for different age groups, as well as online workshops to keep you motivated and inspired throughout the day. And we put together some highlights of these streaming activities that were put in place also before the pandemic, but now served a real purpose in these difficult times. So a fantastic platform is the Opera Vision platform that is also backed by the Creative Europe program and is managed by Opera Europa. We have also seen other examples of opera and ballet houses like the Paris Opera or the Festival d'Aix-en-Provence, who have a fantastic digital stages where they are creating specific content for online consumption. It has also been a moment to get closer to artists who recorded or made available in a live context recitals from their homes, masterclasses. Very interesting to watch. And what's also what I wanted to mention is our expert partner IMZ, with whom we select the winner of our digital prize. They also set up a B2B marketplace and film search engine for film license trading. So it's also about how to create new standards in the B2B context in order to also facilitate the exchange and search of all this digital content. And this gives you an overview of the activities that we seen what opera and ballet companies are offering for families and young children. It has even been so successful that the content that was shared on, for instance, our platform was used in schools in order to also facilitate access to the art form, to playfully involving children at a young age with the arts, even though the institutions were shut down. So we're really happy to bring also the content of our members to schools in France and beyond. And last but not least, the workshops that were put together by the opera houses were absolutely remarkable. A highlight was Tamaro's ballet classes from her kitchen this spring. She's the director of the English National Ballet in London, and she put so much dedication, commitment, and discipline into producing these daily ballet classes, which were not just for professional, but also for anyone who loves ballet to follow, and really created a momentum and a reason to get up in the morning. And this kind of inspiration is what our society needs in order to navigate these times. Other opera houses have also been very creative in co-creating content by their artists or orchestras, for instance, Edilia in Barcelona, or also special tours and in virtual formats, for instance, the Paris Opera, or here the Staatsoper unter den Linden, in order to still feel connected to the building. Before I close, I also just wanted to say thank you to Creative Europe, because Creative Europe helped our organization to scale our activity and to really be able to harness this quality label that comes with the support from the European Commission. It all has offered us a cultural network, very unique, and connections can be made with other organizations and learn also cross-sectoral exchange of knowledge. The funding opportunities is incredible because it really opens up new sources of funding that you could not otherwise get if you were only active on a local or national level. So it really encourages that by coming together and collaborating on a European level, that can open up new funding opportunities. The knowledge sharing has been fundamental, and Creative Europe has also been a very comprehensive partner and very adaptive in a way, and of the situation we were in this year, that helped us also immediately allocate funds towards the digital activities of our members in order to help them survive this difficult period. So this kind of partnership and constructive exchange has been extremely fruitful, and we're very, very grateful also to Barbara Gessler and her team for trust and this commitment. And the Creative Europe desks across Europe, such as here in Poland or France, are extremely helpful. And if you're listening to this and you're interested in maybe putting together an application for EU funding, I can absolutely advise to speak to the people in charge in the Creative Europe desk, because at the time we were also advised by the team in Paris, who was extremely helpful and explained to us also how to navigate all the different programs and to see what program would be the best suited for our project. So last but not least, a special thanks to everyone who has supported us, and of course, most of all, Creative Europe, who made this initiative grow. And I'm happy to take any questions you may have. And thank you for listening, and thank you for encouraging us to create steps to reach the stage.
Thank you very, very much, Edilia, for this inspiring talk and for your activities. Like, from my perspective, my first question would be, how big is your team? Like, if you're running so many and diverse activities covering so many aspects of promoting.
Yes, so we have a board, a very committed board of 9 board members from across Europe, and we're a team of 5 operational staff members full-time running the organization.
It's really, really impressive. And I think that now I know that there are some people working for the opera houses in Poland, but not only who are following our conversation. You've mentioned when we were having our first meeting that actually tomorrow is the deadline for applying for next year's competition, isn't it?
Exactly. And actually, the good news is we have slightly prolonged it until Monday, but yes, definitely to hand in, because we were also aware that this event was happening. So if someone is listening and has a very interesting project, it is still possible to hand this in for ballet, opera, education, and digital, which is about $250,000 of possible funding that we're making available.
How would you judge the difficulty of the application? Is it like possible to do it at the very last moment, or?
I would say it is a bit tough because the applications are, I don't want to discourage anyone.
Sure.
It's just that it is not an application that you can do in 2 hours. They're quite challenging because a lot of information is requested. But if you already have a concrete project plan in place, I would encourage you. I mean, you still have 4 days, so it could be possible.
So we encourage you all to give it a try, because actually taking these risks is, I think, already like a great lesson about how to promote and present your work in progress. We will come back to the topic of how to present the work in progress from the field of the opera and ballet in a minute. But firstly, I would love to encourage our audience as well to ask you direct questions that we will discuss together. We have first one from Ursula, as well from Paris, if I remember well. She's asking us about about how have you adapted, like how did you adapt to the COVID reality, and do in your organization, in your activities, do you as well using some XR in your activities?
Yes, so when lockdown happened earlier this spring in March, the Fedora team was extremely... We went into home office and, can you hear me? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, great. We went immediately into home office, and the setup worked quite well, and we're a very young team as well. So I think that also helped in terms of just, you know, adapting quickly. And I was very impressed also by the tech savviness of the team, because in basically a few months later, we were hosting digital online events, and it was something that we didn't do before. And it's all about the curiosity and the willingness to learn and to learn new skills. And it was challenging, but you also grow by learning this and being thrown into cold water and to adapting your activity. And since our entire annual rhythm is based on the competition, and the competition is based on projects that will only reach the stage in the future, we didn't have immediate loss of ticket sales because the projects that we're supporting are not being shown yet. So we were not as badly hit as organizations who have revenue or 30% of their revenue coming from ticket sales. And we were extremely lucky to have very loyal and supportive donors from the private and public sector, like Creative Europe, who were there to support us in these difficult times, and used also this time for a lot of strategic thinking and planning for the years to come.
Thank you. And how about this new technology, the one of the prizes that you are applying? We will discuss the Laila project later on. How do you see the future of this kind of production in the opera and ballet? Actually, your mission is to encourage the creation of the new pieces, but how would you define this balance in between this, what is tradition in creation, and this, what the technology opens for us?
Thank you for that great question. So actually, when we created the digital prize last year, we did not know that the pandemic would happen the following year. So we were quite surprised that that happened. And in a way, it's encouraging now opera houses to think about how to embrace digital technology and innovation in order to rethink the way they are staging productions or using new tools to trigger new ways of artistic storytelling. We're not saying that technology should replace any human interaction, etc. It's more about how we can explore it as a creative tool. And also, like the things that we've seen with hologram technology, immersive experiences can also appeal to a new audience. And it's also a new way of experiencing opera. And I think exploring those different options and offering different opportunities of getting in touch with these art forms can be only beneficial and complementary to very beautiful traditional productions that are part of the repertoire and should always be. And we also believe that opera houses have the opportunity to reach out to new professions or different sectors who have nothing to do maybe with opera and ballet. And there's suddenly this new additional interdisciplinary aspect that happens of knowledge sharing around that. So suddenly you can have someone who has an expertise in a certain area who comes in and can be helpful with their knowledge and wisdom. And they can also be inspired by the work that's happening in theaters. So and that intercultural dialogue and intersectoral dialogue we're trying to promote also together with IMZ, who also is this network of broadcasters and people who have a speciality also in digital transformation. And then also on the education side with Razio, talking about how to reach audiences through outreach programs. So it's really in line with this vision of sharing knowledge outside of the sectors and bringing that back into the sector, like with Opera Europa, where people within the sector are exchanging information as well.
We will go back to this aspect of how can we reframe as well the work in the cultural organization, institutions, theater, opera houses. Where is and when is this switch towards new tech departments that are more and more engaged in this new way of application? We have one really concrete question. This is about like about the Fedora competition. Is it only like dance theaters and operas that can apply, or as well like the artists themselves? Can it be like individual application?
So in order to have a guarantee for the sponsors that the production will actually take place, the applying entity needs to be a registered company in ballet, opera, or the festival, or independent production company, but it could not be an individual artist. But if there is an individual artist listening to us, if you have a project in mind that you want to build and you're already speaking with an institution to do it, it's just about convincing that organization to hand in the application on your behalf.
Thank you. I think it's like really useful information at this moment, or of the 4 days left to applying. So another question is how the new funding model can scale and become a useful tool to the other creative sectors, the one that you have invented as Fedora for the opera and ballet.
I think what's interesting for every sector is to do an analysis of all their stakeholders, and maybe also to consider stakeholders that have not yet been part of the ecosystem of their area, and to then identify what are the different areas and levels, how these people can be included in your project, and to also understand what their needs are, because an ecosystem can only work if the different needs of these people are met, or institutions, and that is a mutual beneficial, that there's synergies that are happening. So I think that is maybe the starting point when wanting to build an ecosystem. And then in the second step, it would be very interesting to see what are the dynamics in your respective industries, what are the funding models that have traditionally been in place and that work. And is there a certain openness to new ways of doing it? You know, it could be crowdfunding, it could be matching funds, it could be all these different tools that could be used. And what could be helpful is to maybe do focus groups within your industry to have a better understanding on what the preferences are in your area. I can just advise from our own experience, it's always good to do also pilot projects, test and learn, because it helps you to develop something in a very short period of time, to have the minimum viable product, to then test it and then go back and improve it, so that you have this agility to adapt it to needs or to new market trends, rather than immediately coming out with something that is completely developed but is maybe not as adaptable. So having this notion of adapting is extremely important in the pilot phase.
Can you a little bit elaborate this idea of the pilot project? What would be the aspects that you think the artist institution should cover at this moment of work in progress? What should we reveal? What should be hidden? What's the most convincing to the audience that can be engaged?
That's actually a good point. When we do the capacity building seminars with our nominees, which we did this year with BPI, which is a learning consulting company, they helped us really to train the artistic teams and the organizations about focusing on the why. People support you because they believe in what you do, and they want to know why you do it. And sometimes you can tell a story, but if it's not clear why you're doing this and how the project is making a difference for the artists, but also for the audiences or for society on a whole, it's quite difficult to be relevant and to capture the attention of your audience. So what I would say is, when you build a project, you have to be very clear about why you're doing this. And then, of course, in a second step, you can roll out the what and the how it's going to work. And this definition of the vision is extremely important. And then at the same time, also highlighting how feasible it is, so that you're not, selling hot air or something that is not feasible, but that there's also a realistic operational plan behind it on how that is going to work. And the winners of this year are an excellent example of that combination of the boldness and the vision of it, and also being up in their game on how it's going to work, who is involved, and what difference it's going to make in the sector.
Thank you. I think it's really, really like empowering for everybody who thinks about how to showcase the projects. We are at the phase during the pandemic, when we couldn't rehearse at the very early stage. Then we were back on stage for the rehearsal, but without an option of the presentation. So some works are produced now, or like pre-produced, but they're waiting for this moment of the launch. So all those tips how to showcase the work that couldn't met the audience before are super, super useful for us. My last question, but I will just check if nobody else has the others, would be, how would you define your community of Fedora? Because I think one of the key questions of today will be like, who is the community of our, not attendees, participants, like people that we gather around our activities?
Actually, this goes back to the ecosystem that I showed earlier. So we have a platform that brings together different people and different institutions. So on the one side, it is obviously the audiences, the ones who are interested in the art form, passionate about it, and who we are trying to convert slowly into supporters. So people who are interested, we're trying to transform into people who care and who want to support. So funding is very important. And then obviously the companies, individuals, and foundations who are backing this. But then there's also a dialogue with policymakers and public authorities in order to see how these kind of initiatives can be scaled, because that's always the idea of saying, okay, we start something, but then it has to be structured and scaled. And then, of course, at the core is the artists and cultural institutions, because they're the ones who are actually creating and building the ideas and who need the investment. And the way we position ourselves is bringing together those four audiences or four target groups.
Thank you for this explanation. That was amazing presentation, but you are, I think, an expert as well in the project that we will be showcasing after. So like the 2-3 key words about Laila that impressed you the most, the project that was awarded, before we pass to another presentation. And as you know, there will be as well Laila being presented at the end, but the word from somebody who was a witness of how it was growing as the project will be priceless here.
I must say, the part that I like a lot about the competition is, since we're not involved in the decision-making process about who is going to become the winner, because that's outsourced to the jury. But I personally read all the applications because I'm generally interested in opera and ballet and the inspiration of ideas, and very, very passionate about it. And what I love is when you read the application, it's paper-based. So it's an outline of a vision, of an artistic idea, and then the description of, how this is going to work. And what I find very often now, after 6 years of editions, is that the winners very often come through already on paper. So you already kind of have the idea of what this is going to look like, and it comes to life while you read it. And that's extremely, extremely powerful as a tool when you're pitching, to be able to develop something in this written format that gives a very clear understanding of what you're building in the future. In this case of Laila, what was quite remarkable is that it is a very bold idea, very future-oriented outlook, and really questioning the basics of opera, like how are we going to experience it in the future? Is the format, the way we're right now consuming it, going to be the way we will continue to do so? And also the way of this interaction element, that it actually adapts to you and to the way you're behaving, the way you're feeling, the way you're interacting with other people. So this element of adaptation to the audience in a very personalized way is very intriguing as well. Yeah,
I think as Anastina, who is with us already, is like super proud about listening to this introduction. We'll switch to this presentation later on, but for now, thank you very much for being with us, for inspiring us, and for giving us this empowerment towards searching alternative models of funding for the projects that are being developed. Thank you for very much for being with us. And like, I know it's not the moment to say goodbye, because we will meet 20:12 for the panel discussion about the audiences in this digital age. But for now, your keynote was amazing and helped us a lot as the introduction to this day. Now I would love to invite all of you. Thank you very much, Edilia. I would love to invite all of you for a short break after this first hour of our meeting. We will meet 11:05 for the next presentations, discussing how the dramatic theater can be really, really technological advanced. See you